don't you say your name and birth and date of birth?
You want my middle name and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Pauline Gladys Pfister.
And where were you?
I was born in Oakdale Township, Howard County, Chester, Iowa.
And how many siblings did you have?
0.
Oh, you were an only child.
Well, my mom had me when she was a senior, and I lived with my grandparents.
Okay.
My mom was very good to me, and so was my grandparents.
Wow, that was a great childhood. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Oakdale Township, Howard County, Iowa. Chester, Iowa was the address.
And were you in town?
No, I was born in the country.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about your younger years, where you went to school?
Well, I went to school in Oakdale 1.
Was that a little schoolhouse out there somewhere?
No, there was.
That's what I'm saying. Was there a...
One-room schoolhouse.
Where would that have been at?
Well, I could drive right there, but I guess I can't tell you.
See, I live out by the old cemetery. I live at Chester Hill Cemetery.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, I
and
was
it must have
west
been out
of
there?
that. I was west of that then,
Okay.
and on
okay.
the corner, and there were quite a few schools in that area. Oakdale 1, 2, 3, you know, and there was I don't know how many, maybe 6 or 7.
Goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about your home? Did your grandfather farm?
He was a farmer.
Okay.
And home, it says here about the home. Well, it was a big house, fairly nice. Well, no inside plumbing, you know, in those days.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it was a big kitchen and dining room and living room, and then a bedroom downstairs.
Is
And
it still
three-
standing today?
Hmm?
Is it
Yeah,
still?
yeah. And three bedrooms upstairs.
Okay. And did you say when you were born, your date of
Yeah,
birth? Okay.
September 2nd, 1928.
28, okay.
That's a long time ago. I'm 90 now.
It's been a while.
Yeah, did you ride the school bus to school or did you walk?
Well, when the weather was good, you walked, but when you were little, they'd probably take you,
Okay,
you know, and in the wintertime, you'd go on a sled,
okay.
and they'd put a big stone from the cook stove in the sled with a cover over it when it was stormy and all that.
Uh-huh.
So you'd ride in this sled, and then in this...
Was it drawn by a couple of horses or
Yeah.
one or two?
Two.
Two horses.
How far was it to school?
A mile and a half.
Mhm.
When I got older, then I walked. Well, if the weather was terrible, I didn't have to, but otherwise I had to walk.
Did you have any farm chores or?
Oh, yes, there was, you know, I had a pet dog and I took care of that. And what else did I do? Well, I used to help my grandma, you know, in the house.
Uh-huh.
Wash dishes, wipe dishes, iron.
Right? Yeah, I remember those
How about the
old
cooking?
irons.
Huh?
Did you do a lot of cooking?
Oh, yes. Well, I didn't, I helped, but in those days, you know, you had hired men and thrashers and the whole works, and so there was a lot to cook for.
Yeah, I remember growing up, the ringer washer.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you have one of those?
Yeah, yeah.
Everything was out on the line.
And then the boiler on top, on the stove where you had hot heated water, but you rinsed in cold water.
Yeah. How about high school?
Yes, and then, well, I started school in those days, well, it's now too, Oakdale 1. You know, they started in August, the end of August, and I was still 4 years old. And then on the 2nd of September, school started, and then you see, I had just turned 5.
So you were one of the younger ones.
And what else?
High school, did you come to
and
Leroy
then,
then?
yeah, then when I got to be 14, about that, then I came to high school in Leroy. and I graduated in 1946.
Did they have school buses then? When you graduated?
I don't think they did then.
Okay, so you
But
still,
yeah.
you couldn't have walked that
Oh,
far.
no. And I rode with a neighbor boy. Well, it would have been Virgil Bucknell. It would have been what's it called, Bucknell? His dad.
Okay.
And he was older than I. He was a senior when I was a freshman.
Okay.
But I rode with him.
Okay.
So.
And tell us how you met Roger.
Okay, and then Velma Moe, Arnie Moe's wife now, or she's passed away.
Yeah.
She was my teacher, and in 8th grade, and she went to normal school in the summer and taught school in the fall. So she had 3 months of schooling, and she was my teacher when I was in 8th grade.
Great.
Yeah, and then we always got to the people that are going to be freshmen always got to come in to town one day and be with the freshmen.
Okay.
Roger was a year older than I, and I didn't know anybody. Well, there was a few girls I knew from country school, you know, and I knew a couple from town, but I didn't know too many people. And so we were at science class, and I was shy like everybody. And I looked up, and this boy winked at me. I didn't know who it was. And I don't think he knew me, but he winked at me 2 or 3 times. And I think I had one date with him. I wasn't allowed to date, you know, real young. And I think I had one date when I was a sophomore.
Okay.
And so that's how we met.
Okay.
And
So you didn't ever go out with any other boys?
no.
Just-
Well, when he was in service, and I, you know, we weren't married then. I had a couple of, I went out a few times,
Nice.
but I was
Nothing.
still writing to him all the time. And
Nothing compared.
no,
Yeah, so was Roger, was he in World War II?
yes,
And
and
then,
he was one of the 5 senior boys when they were seniors enlisted,
right,
because they would have got drafted. And so, yeah,
and he was what branch?
he was in the Navy.
Okay, my dad was.
And then they all went to Great Lakes. They were, their serial numbers were consecutive.
Mhm.
I still remember his. Don's was 21 and Rogers was 21 and Don's was 17.
Okay.
It was the 5 boys that enlisted, senior boys.
Yeah,
That was
wasn't one of the,
Kroll,
yeah, and
Kroll,
was it
Grant Hawkins,
Grant?
and there was a Don Kroll, Grant.
Lila Feather's dad?
No,
McRoberts? No?
no, he
Okay.
was older.
Oh, okay. I just remember reading about those
Yeah.
5 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when did you get married?
Well, let's see, that would have been 1948.
Okay,
This was in 1940, 46, was it? No, 40, well, I don't know when they enlisted. Well, they enlisted and some of us girls went on the train with them up to Austin.
okay.
We skipped school
Oh,
and went with them, and we got up there, well, they guys were gone already, and we
Aw.
found out that was the day that Roosevelt passed away.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the war ended and Roger came home and you,
Well, then he was, after Great Lakes, and he was out in Rhode Island for quite a long time, and then he went overseas, and he went to China, and he got very sick over there. And
was he in the military then still?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, so he wasn't
And
back.
so he, for about 5 weeks, he was just really sick, and they gave him sulfa pills. Well, then after we were married in 1948, about 2 years later, he wasn't feeling well. And he went up to Dr. Cromwell, a heart specialist up in Austin. And he said, well, you know, I just don't feel good at all. And he says, well, have you ever had rheumatic fever? And Roger said, well, if I did, it was when I was in China because I was sick for a long time. And so that left him with a bad heart.
Okay.
So we got married in 48, and 58 he had his first heart surgery up in the cities.
Yep.
And we didn't have any insurance. He was working at the post office then as a clerk.
Okay.
But they didn't have health insurance then. A year later, they came through with health insurance.
Okay.
But then, we didn't have any. And so when he needed this surgery, the surgeon up in the cities, he went to the heart hospital, Variety Club Heart Hospital in the cities, and the surgeon wanted money, down payment for, and we didn't have any money. So Roger went to the bank, and Barth Hawkins, Grant's dad, loaned Roger $500 to send up to the cities for the heart specialist.
Wow.
And he was a postal clerk then, and Harold Otto was the postmaster. And he said to Roger one day, he said, I'm going to call up, the head office was in St. Paul at that time. He said, I'm going to call up there and see if Pauline could carry your mail out. Well, nowadays it wouldn't work.
Right.
Yeah, but
not nowadays.
and it did. It worked. They said, sure.
Good.
So
for
Roger
you.
lays up in the
Hospital.
hospital and listening to Cedric Adams. I'll probably cry. And he said, we have something new in Leroy, Minnesota, a female mailman.
Oh.
And they said that, that's why I was. So I carried mail for 3 months.
Uh-huh.
And the first day,
What did you do with Rhonda? Because Rhonda was born.
no, she was in school, and my grandma, she was down to
Okay.
my grandma's a lot too.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Rhonda was born a year later after we got married. And Roger used to say we got married in, how did he say, June of 27, and Rhonda was born July 11th. And I always say, a year later.
You want to make sure they didn't misunderstand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Back in those days.
In the way you said it, though.
So the first day of carrying mail, I was very late, and I had all these big catalogs. I can't remember which ones they were, but they all
Probably Sears Roebuck, and
they all had their names on them, and I didn't know how to sort them, so I laid them on the floor of the old post office up there where the old one was. And the other carrier was laughing at me. And so I had them all in the car, in the back seat, all in order,
Yeah.
all the mail in order. And I was so darn late, I went around a corner too fast, and half of them slid down on the floor.
Oh, so they were all mixed up.
So then I had to look every mailbox. I had to get out and look for this catalog. I got home at 4:30 that day, and I was bawling. And I said, Roger, I can never do this. I can never do this. He said, well, you're going to have to.
Oh.
Well, after a week, it got better.
Yes.
And so I was on time then.
Oh, dear.
Most of the time I was on time unless you had lots of mail, then you'd
Okay.
be a little later.
Now, you mentioned the old post office. Where was it then?
And that's, it'd be right by where Plum's dental office was, that little building there.
Right.
That was the old,
I don't know. that
Okay.
yeah, it's on the south side.
West of the state, not the state bank, the
The
National Bank.
either. Okay.
Down
Just give us some
the doors.
landmarks here.
Yeah. Yeah. And can you tell us when you got married in the 50s, what the downtown area of Leroy looked like
Well,
back then?
when we got married in 48, there were 5 grocery stores on the south side of Bain Street.
Wow.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you, that doesn't mean anything, but the first one was kind of there, kind of where the sweet shop used to be,
Okay.
on the south side. and that was Albertsons. Then you walk down a few doors, and there was Petch's butcher shop.
Okay,
And then
Frank Petch.
yeah, and
okay.
then on the other side of the bank was the Economy Grocery. Next door was the Morse's Grocery, and down the street about three stores was Naaman's.
Name
So
it.
that was 5, and then the Red Owl was across the street.
Street, okay.
So can you imagine?
Yeah, and there was
No.
two or three doctors back
Oh
there.
yes, and over the
Old Doc Morris.
yeah, Dr. Morse, he was upstairs over the bakery for a while, and Dr. Halver, he was the dentist. Across the street was Dr. Henslin,
Hence,
and that would have been where the well, it's still upstairs there by you know where that guy had that junk place, you know.
uh-huh,
Yeah, I mean that's where they were upstairs.
okay. I'm down by Trish's shop.
Yeah.
No,
No,
no, it would have been this side of the National Bank.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
there's still apartment up there.
There.
But I mean, nobody lives there now.
okay. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a busy
Yeah,
town.
and you
Yeah.
go to town on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, and if you had a nickel or a dime for an ice cream cone, that was really something.
Living high on the hog.
And when you were dating, they had a movie theater.
Yes,
What did you and Roger like
Well,
to
we
do?
went, but you know, it cost money to go, so we didn't, yeah.
Have that then.
And
yeah.
then you see, when I was a junior, when he enlisted, those guys enlisted, so,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
So, let's see, what else? Oh, and I worked 5 different places on Main Street. When I
Oh,
graduated from high school, I wanted to go to business, but no money, you know.
okay.
So I started working at the bakery for Hollings.
Hollings, okay.
35 cents an hour.
Wow. I babysat for 25 cents.
Oh yeah, Rhonda used to too, yeah. And then, you know, once in a while would somebody leave a tip, and if you had a 10 or 15 cent tip,
That
you
was
were
big.
really grateful for that.
Wow.
Okay, so then I worked there for a while, and then, well, quite a while. And then I went to the Federated store, Rosenberg's. They were on the corner there by the State Bank. In fact, part of that State Bank is their building they had.
Right,
And
that was a clothing store.
yeah,
wasn't it? Okay.
and they were Jews, and they were really nice people. But there was a few people in town that, you know, they didn't like the Jews. I felt so sorry for them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, can you? Yeah. Anyway, they were very nice people. And then let's see. And then I worked there some after Rhonda was born, on holiday, you know, Christmas and stuff. And then, well, then when Rhonda was, what, 7 or 8, when Roger had his first surgery, and then I started working for Mel Lageson, and they were part of the place of the Red Owl now, or the, you know,
Yeah.
grocery store. And then from there I went to Artie Stock, and worked at the soda fountain.
Okay, was that
Oh.
owned by Rita
Yeah,
and her husband?
yeah.
Okay.
Rita
Stock.
Stock.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember
Yeah.
her.
And then I worked for Dr. Plum for about 2.5 years.
Okay, I think I remember that. Yeah. And what other activities did you join? Were you involved in your church
Oh
through
yes,
the years?
Lutheran Church. We were married in the old Lutheran Church.
And where was that?
Well, it's still standing down there by South Park, that big apartment building. That was
Oh, that was the church right down from us.
that's where we were married.
Okay. Really?
And when they built the new church, we call it, it's old now. But then we walked that day we walked from the old church up to the new church. Everybody walked up there. I was
Oh,
in church that Sunday.
wow, that was special. The one that's there today?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that would only have been 2 blocks.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
Not too far.
wasn't far.
Mhm.
Yeah, what else?
And you remember, do you remember which doctor? I heard there were more than one doctor.
Yeah,
Where did you take Rhonda, or,
yeah,
you-
well, Dr. Henslin,
okay,
yeah, and then his son was a doctor, and he was there for a while. In fact, he was the one that delivered Rhonda,
okay,
and at that time, he was in Cresco at the hospital there.
okay.
So that's where she was born. Cresco.
And you remember old Doc Morris?
Oh, yes.
Did
oh,
you
yeah.
ever go to him?
Oh, all the time.
Okay,
Then his son Roger.
right,
In fact, when we were going to buy a house, he was loaning people money then, old Dr. Morse.
really?
So we borrowed money from him to buy our house,
Wow,
and then we were paying $50 a month for a long, long time. And then when he got older, he said he wanted to get his things in order for his kids. So then we had to finish paying up,
and
Yeah,
take out a loan.
yeah.
But that was really nice. So when did you move to your house, before your townhouse?
Before our townhouse. It was up, well, you know where it was.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
That was a nice home, really
Right,
nice.
really nice.
And that same person that built where Donna Bomback used to live.
Okay,
Spencer, I think, was his
So
name.
where was the original home?
what street was it?
811 North Everett Street,
Okay.
North Everett.
Mhm. It's got some brick on it, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and the inside was so nice.
It was 2 stories, was the
Yeah.
basement just,
Basement.
was that refinished or no, just storage or,
Well, it had a nice cement floor, and
okay,
I had a old cook stove down there. Sometime I'd can down there. Had some cupboards down there.
washer and dryer,
Yeah.
was that down there?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and then it had an upstairs
Yeah,
too.
and then there's upstairs. And then I could do about anything then, and so lots of times I would take the storm windows off, and put the storm windows on. And so one day Roger was home, and so we were gonna wash the windows upstairs. This is Rhonda's room then, and he said, throw that can of window cleaner up. And I said, I don't think I can do that. So I wound up and threw it up. Well, it didn't. It only went through the 2 windows in the porch, and it hit my piano.
Oh, no.
I had put a mark on that. Oh.
Oh. How long were you and Roger married?
Almost 68 years.
Okay, yeah, that's wonderful. And
Yeah.
were you in any clubs or hobbies you can
Well,
remember?
we a church, and I belonged to a circle,
Uh-huh.
and what else? Auxiliary, American Legion Auxiliary, and
Did you garden, have any hobbies?
yes, and we had a card club. There were 6
Okay.
couples that played 500 once a month,
Okay,
and we'd go to the home, and then at about between 11 and 11:30, we'd have a big lunch.
yeah. That's the way it was. So, Rhonda was born in 49 or 50?
Yeah, 49.
Okay. Yeah, do you?
July 11th, 1949.
Yeah, and could you tell us about your health problems a little bit with your arthritis? Your health problems.
Well,
when
Roger had lots of health problems.
Right,
He had about every surgery there was to have.
yeah, especially with his heart.
Yeah.
And yourself, when did your arthritis start, would you say?
Oh, golly. I don't know. a long time
ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's,
But, you know, it's, the last few days have been really aching, but I think it was cold here for a while.
mhm.
And I got that little heater over there I used, but they need a new part for the boiler here,
Okay.
and it was cold, and then so
Yeah.
lately I've been
Achy.
Well,
yeah.
not like you used to have all the time, and you still do, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hurts all the time, don't it?
Yeah. Do you have any advice you want to give the younger generation, or you think of anything special?
Well, when I used to go to showers, you know, advice for the new bride, I always say, don't go to bed angry.
Well, that's still a good one. Any other
And,
things?
you know, we never bought anything till we had the money for it.
Oh, that definitely.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, nowadays,
They just charge
all on
and
credit.
charge and charge. Yeah.
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 Well, we thank you so very much. Do you have any more questions?
I can't think of anything.
Let's see, what else do I know?
Anything else you want to add? Special memories or?